Hi guys, Ryu here from Blender Bros, and in this video we're gonna continue with the modeling the top part. We need to create an additional element and then we're gonna create this arm. So let's start with the top here. So we're gonna select this one in the middle, this one. Go to face mode, select this face and Shift D, okay? Right click and then P, selection, object mode, click, edit mode, click, E. It's the same thing all over, guys, right? It's the same drill. Here, we're gonna use a cube to slice it with a sort of like a beveled angle. So we're gonna grab a cube, so Shift A, grab a cube. Let's move it up here, okay? Let's make it bigger, right? And wider. And let's go to top view. And GX and move it somewhere here, right? And we need to move it up a little bit, so somewhere here like this. That's cool. And then we're going to grab this edge and move it down, GZ, and do something like this, okay? And then let's move this a little bit higher, okay? So GZ and move it somewhere here. And this one could be a little bit taller, so GZ, a little bit taller. Cool. So now we're gonna use this as a cutter, so we need to Control A and apply scale as usual. Go to edge mode, grab this edge, and we're going to add bevel, okay? Let's add, I would say 10 segments, maybe. Maybe 10 is gonna be okay. Now let's go to front view, and let's see that. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I think I could stand behind that. So now we're going to right click and sheet smooth, and, auto smooth, right? So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna select this, shift select this, and control minus, okay? Now let's see how we're looking. We're looking quite alright, but this base here could be a little bit thicker. So GZ, and we could move this a little bit higher, okay? So this base here is gonna be a bit thicker, cool? Cool. Now this bool needs to be moved above bevel and above weighted normals, so we can see it. Now, you can clearly see that there is a shading problem here, right? In this area, okay? And the reason is because we got these massive faces, right? That have been cut and they've been changed into, converted into massive n-gons, okay? Because when I apply this cutter, right? So if I apply this cutter here, don't do it, but I'm gonna show you. You see there's gonna be a lot of n-gons and kind of like weird edges and old stuff going on here. So we need to fix this, okay? So before we're gonna apply this, let's just go back. We're going to run some security loops, okay? Loops that's gonna help us maintain this shading here a bit better, okay? So let's go to edit mode, in edge mode, right? And we're gonna just press Control R here to add a loop. And then when you scroll your mouse, you can start adding more of them and click, okay? This is something that will help us with shading. So then go to object mode, you can see that now already is much better. In addition to this one, we're gonna grab this cutter, go to edge mode, and we're going to do the same thing here. So just press Control R and add loops. Now, when you're adding these loops, make sure that, let me just show you here. Make sure that these loops kind of encompass this edge here in the middle, okay? So the one of these loops doesn't actually fall on the edge, but it's kind of like either, in front of the edge or behind it. So this face here should be sort of encompassing this edge in the middle. It's going to help with running, connecting edges, etc. So this is basically, a way of running supporting loops to ease off your cleanup. And now look how clean this already looks, okay? Just by adding some loops, right? Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna add a mirror here to this one. So add a mirror, and again, we need to disable it here and click on this pipette and mirror, then enable it, and we're good to go. And we got this kind of a situation, which is kind of cool, right? Now what we can do is we can, GX and move this cutter a bit in the middle. So there you go. This should do, right? Cutters. And now what we can do, we could technically, apply this, right? We could apply this, and once we apply this, we can clean it up. So let's apply the boolean here, right? And go to vertex mode, and we're gonna have to clean it up, guys, all right? So now we're gonna be using the cleanup from machine tools to help us. Now let me explain you something very important, okay? These edges that run along a bevel, okay, these edges, right, are supporting edges in a way that they support the curvature, okay. So when you move one of these edges or remove them, okay, like this, I'm gonna dissolve it, you see you're gonna change the curvature of this bevel. You don't want to do that. These edges, on the other hand, do nothing, okay. You can remove all of them if you want to, right, because they do absolutely nothing. Okay? We're using them to sort of create a connection with the edges here on this surface here, right? Here in the same thing, these edges contribute to the shape that goes around, right? These edges do absolutely nothing for us, okay? You can remove them if you don't want them. Right? I literally can just dissolve them. They won't change nothing, right? What we do need, however, is these edges, because these edges are going to be used to connect this, right? So now here, I can move this vert up and down. So when I press GG, I can slide it up and down, right? And see no shading changes are happening, because again, this edge here doesn't support anything. But if I'm going to move this edge, right, stuff's going to start changing in terms of shading, because this edge is a supporting edge. So when I'm going to be fixing this, I'm going to need to move this vert to this vert, right? In Blender, the way you do this, you press M, and then you just select here. We're going to select at last. Now with machine tools, it's really easy because you don't have to open additional menus. There are two commands for it, okay? One of them is 1 and Shift 1. If you click this vert and shift click that vert, if you press 1, it will connect to the last selected. If you press Shift 1, they will merge in the middle. And this is thanks to the cleanup menu being enabled, okay? So if you go to machine tools, you'll see that this cleanup menu here is enabled, right? This is why we can do this. So select that, shift select that, 1, okay? Select that, shift select 1, you know what I mean? This one, 1. And then this is a bit tricky because both of these are actually contributing to the shape. So what you can do is shift 1, right? So select this one, and shift 1. Here, easy, 1. And here we can move this one. This one again is tricky, so let's combine them, shift 1. This one I would leave alone, and this one shift 1, and this one can stay as is. That's okay. All right, we don't really need this. I will remove it, so dissolve, and I think it's gonna be okay. And you know, this is good. On the other side, we're just gonna simply run symmetry. Okay, so before we run symmetry, let's continue fixing. So now this edge here does absolutely nothing for us, so we can dissolve it. Right, this edge here, we could actually use it to our advantage. We could use this one and merge here, and then we can dissolve this one. We don't really need it. And then this one could be merged here, and then this one, either way, doesn't matter. And there you go. And now we can symmetrize it to the other side, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're going to select everything. We're gonna go here to Mesh, Symmetrize. And it's symmetrized from this one from left to right. We need to invert it. So we need to go from plus to minus, okay? So from this side to the other side, okay? Cool. And then we're gonna symmetrize it one more time, okay? So select everything, Mesh, and symmetrize, and now we're going to symmetrize it on y-axis, so from left to right. So we need to find out which one it is. It's the other one, so from minus to plus. Okay, you're going to symmetrize from here to here. Now remember when I told you that when you symmetrize something, you're going to have this edge running in the middle. So you see this edge here, we need to remove it, because when you have uneven number of edges or sort of uneven width of these faces, you will see kind of like a weird shading in this area. There's too many edges in here. We need to remove that, okay? And this edge, let's go to local view. It goes all around this shape, right? So if you alt click it, you're gonna select the whole thing, right? And then X and dissolve, okay? You know, we don't need any of these, to be honest. We can just remove them, you know? We really don't need them because they completely unnecessary. There's this flat face here, right? Whenever you have a flat surface, you don't really need any geometry, so you can remove that. And if you're really pedantic, you could get rid of some of these edges as well. But you know, I'm just gonna leave them. It's fine. This one is probably not needed as well. but you know, we can leave it. So then you will never have a perfect shading, okay? There's no such thing as perfect shading, but we could remove this edge here as well. This is gonna improve shading in here. And let me see that. That's a little bit better. What you could do is you could run like a parameter edge, okay? So let me show you. Press K for knife, right? And we could start somewhere here, and we could run like a parameter loop here along this this edge here, like that, and maybe just end it in here. Boom. And this will kind of isolate this area a little bit better and tighter, and create a bit more of a tight shading. So then, you know, select everything, so mesh and symmetrize it, and this will symmetrize it on incorrect axes. We need to switch it to, let me see that, yes, minus x to x first. Okay, click here, then press it again, and mesh and symmetrize, and then let's symmetrize it from plus y to minus y here. So it's symmetrized across. And again, you're gonna get this line in the middle, which you need to remove. Now be careful, because once you remove it, you remove the whole thing, but it's okay because there's no, this line doesn't do anything for us, so you can simply remove it completely. The same with these edges here, you know, they're absolutely unnecessary, so you could just, you know, grab these and remove them. So you click here, control click here, shift alt click, and just continue, right? And then you can dissolve them, and then shift click here, control click here, and dissolve, right? And we can mirror this to the other side, so we don't have to repeat that. So again, mesh and symmetrize and minus x to x, right? Yeah, there you go. And it's symmetrized. Okay, cool. Easiest way to create a parameter loop around here of this edge is simply inset it. So select all these faces with Control and I to inset, and just inset with Shift a little bit to create this kind of like a security parameter around it, which will isolate completely the middle shape from, you know, from the outside. So if any shading irregularities are happening, they're gonna be happening on this area. Now this one needs to be removed. Again, there's just, you know, too much stuff going on in here. So what I would do is remove this one, dissolve this, and I would connect this one here, okay, like this, all right? And you can do this on, you know, on each side, or you could simply, you know, symmetrize it, right? So there you go. That's how you fixed shading without, you know, any normal transfers or, you know, shrink wrapping and other techniques that you can use for this. But this is perfectly fine, you know, looks really clean. Now let's grab this shape to local view, and I want to show you something cool. We're gonna grab this edge here around to create a bevel, right? But I want to just select it with one click. So if I'm gonna press Alt click, it should select the whole loop around, but it doesn't, right? And it doesn't do it because there's an edge here in the middle, okay? So if you're gonna remove this edge, dissolve it. Now if you're gonna hold Alt and click it, you're gonna select the whole loop around, okay? This basically, the flow is disturbed and the blender doesn't know which way to go either here or around, so you get confused, right? So, you know, this is the way to go around it, okay? Control B and hold Shift, scroll down and create a tiny, you know, chamfer. It's gonna really offset nicely here on the top. That may be too big. Let's make it a bit smaller, you know, something like this. There we go. Cool. That's awesome. Cool. Now here on top, we're gonna create some cool cuts. So we're gonna grab a cube, G, and move it in here. S, Y, scale it a bit, like that. And we're gonna position it somewhere here. S, Y, but narrower. And G, Y, GX, move it somewhere here. SX, scale it. GX, move it in here, right? Control A, apply scale. Okay, it's important. Now, let's slash it. So shift click on that and control /, right? And we're going to array this, okay? So we're going to array this. So let's go to modifiers with this cutter selected. And we're going to array this. So array. And now we need to change the axis of it, okay? So we need to, instead of moving on x-axis, so let's reset it to 0, we're gonna move on the y-axis, okay? This way, right? And we're gonna move it somewhere there. Cool, cool. Awesome. So click on that and colors, right? Peachy. So now we need to apply this, okay? So we need to move this boolean above the bevel. And we need to move this boolean above the bevel, okay? And we need to, before actually we apply this, shift to, hang on a second, I have an idea. Let's go to edge mode here. And we're gonna select these two edges. And I'm gonna show you how you can shape stuff with scatter. So if I'm gonna bevel this now with Control B, you can see that I'm getting this kind of like a dynamic bevel happening on my mesh on all sides because this is still live and it's arrayed. Cool, so now let's mirror this. Okay, so we're gonna add a modifier. I'm gonna add a modifier mirror, right? And we need to change the axes. We need to bisect it, okay? And now we need to mirror this as well, okay? So we need to actually mirror this one as well. So what we can do now is add another mirror here. Okay, mirror. Let's move it above where the normals. And there you go, it's mirrored. So now let's move this mirror above where the normals. That's important. And there you go. Let's just shift 2 and hide cutters. Cool. So we got this cutter, mirrored. Everything is peachy. It looks really good. So now we're going to apply this. So let's just apply the boolean. But you can see again, there was a problem with the data link because this info here is grayed out. So let's click on this one. Let's go to data link and clean it. Go back, bool tool, apply, right? And here the same thing, bool tool, apply. Now select this, go to edge mode, and now we can remove these two edges. I don't know what they're doing in here. Let me just check this. And that was kind of funny. Select these two with Shift and Control B, and it's gonna get beveled on the other side because, this is mirrored, right? So there you go. And you're gonna get this kind of a funny shape here going on, which is pretty cool. Now what we're gonna do something awesome. We're gonna increase bevel on this piece to separate it a bit more from this main piece, okay? So we're gonna go to bevel and we're gonna increase the bevel here to create larger separation here, okay? You're gonna be like buttons or some sort of, clips, whatever, holding this in place, right? So it looks pretty cool. You can see visually it just stands out a bit more, okay? Because there's more of a gap here between the bevels, right? It's kind of like a visual trick. Now let's grab another cylinder. So let's grab a cylinder, and now we're going to be cutting small holes in this one, okay? But we don't really need that many vertices. We're going to go probably with like 24 or something. So let's just make this cylinder a bit less crazy. Let's bring it in here and GX, move it in here. Let's right click and shade smooth and, auto smooth. Scale it down, go to top view, and let's just move it in here. Now, you could actually go crazy and cut this through the bevel because there's a bevel here. You see there's a bevel going on. But trust me, it's going to be an absolute bastard, okay? So, make your life easy if you can. So we're going to cut it on this flat surface here, okay? On this flat surface, you see? And make sure that you have enough room for kind of like a bevel around it. We're going to do like a chamfer. So don't put this, too close to the edge, okay? Just kind of like in the middle somewhere here. And that will do. And let's Control A, apply scale. And we're going to shade smooth and auto smooth. Then click on this one, shift click on this one. And we're going to press Control minus. But let me just show you something. So let's go here and let's move this bool tool again above the bevel, right? But then we're going to add solidification to the cutter, which we're going to do something really cool. So if I'm going to solidify the cutter, now I can actually do something like this, okay? This is pretty cool, right? So we can kind of like a bolt inside here, maybe something like that, okay? And, that's it, okay? So now we can go to edit mode. Select everything with A, Shift the Y, and let's just move it in here and to the other side, and cutters, right? And now I'm going to apply this, but before I apply this, I think I'm going to move it a little bit down. So let's just move this a bit down, okay? So GX and just move it a little bit down here. There we go. That's better, okay? Cool. Awesome. So let's now apply this, right? Apply this. Let's go to edge mode and select this edge here on around. I want to tell you something really important, okay? Whenever you have edges like this running at a really steep angle towards an edge that's going to be beveled, it's a very bad idea, because when you're gonna run bevel here on this edge, let me show you, right? I'm gonna run a bevel here, okay? Don't do it, I'm just gonna show you. Control B, see how this edge is being pulled here on this area? This is what happens when you have these kind of like a steep angled edges running towards the bevel. But look what happens here. It's really clean, right? Nothing gets pulled. So whenever you're connecting Boolean cuts to your main mesh, and there needs to be 2 connections on each mesh, okay? Each Boolean needs 2 connections, right? You want to make sure that the connections are more or less, okay, going at 90 degrees towards the edge that's going to be beveled, okay? And then you can delete this one, so dissolve, right? And here, you know, where is it? I can dissolve this one, okay? I'm going to select this edge here, right? And I'm going to select this one, so Shift and Control, right? All around. Control B that, and I'm going to scroll down. And you see that now, even if I'm going to extend this, it will not really pull these edges. Also, when you have this kind of even minimal pull happening, you can turn off this loop slide here, and it's going to help a little bit with the curvature of your chamfer, okay? So select everything, mesh, and symmetrize, and we just need to flip it to the other side. Boom, right? And there you go. And then you got, you know, these bolts on both sides. The last thing I want to do is actually I want to grab all these, so I can do it with Shift in face mode, and we're going to level them flat, okay? So press S, Z, and 0. What it will do, it will flatten them, sort of zero them on a Z axis, okay? So they're not slanted anymore. And then we're going to go G, Z, and drop them down a bit, okay? Just drop them down a bit. And Control B to chamfer them, and we're gonna get these kind of bolts sticking out here, which looks pretty bloody cool. I think that's it for this video, guys. It's already, you know, quite a lot of covered, and I think we're gonna be continuing in the next video. All right, well, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.